The earlier we deal with save files, the less refactoring we have to do later. So let's do that right away. Not long ago, we talked about resources for styling, how Godot uses resources to add textures and customizations to nodes, user interface, all that kind of things. I did explain a little bit how resources work and how they can easily be read from the disk or written on the disk, which is important for saving. I also talked about how resources are kind of unique and how they are kind of special, but in the situation we will take care of today, it's not really a problem. There are many ways to make save systems. You can use pretty much whatever you want. You can use a database, you can use specific file formats, or you can use Godot's resource system. Because again, there's everything you need to read from the disk and write on the disk. The way we will approach saving and loading with this game is by creating a data object that will contain all the data of the game which must persist between two gameplay sessions. This will require a little bit of refactoring because at the moment, all the entities of the game, they are managing their own local variables or properties, if you wish. ManagerSilver is handling their own silver values, and that's it. We can leave it this way and have a saving system that will basically read all those things and add it in a resource that it will save on the disk. This is a way to do it. However, to make the loading easier, sort of, what I will do is create a big data object that everyone will use, that will be the central object of the entire game. And then the saving system will just take care of writing this object and loading this object. To start, we will just, in our scripts, right there, we will create a new folder, which is going to be a data folder. Data folder, where I will create a data script, which will be the heart of the save file. I will begin instantly by naming it data and extending resource. Looking at the game here, at the moment we don't have much things to save. We have the silver value, the level of the first upgrade, and the level of the second upgrade. Yes, I did add a second upgrade between the last episode and this one. We can choose to mash everything into one giant file. That's something we can do. Or we can begin to organize things a little bit better based on their contents. For example, those two upgrades here, they are related to the silver generator. Silver generator that I did rename ManagerSilver. I decided to change this because I want the generator word to be in front of silver. I changed everything. I replaced all the silver generator to match this. You can use replace in files. You can choose to go with silver generator silver like this. If you want to replace everything, I just did that. It changed all the code references and it worked perfectly. I want here to create a sub data script, which is going to be data generator silver. In there, I will just put everything related to that generator silver. Okay, I'm just reminding you, export tag is actually very important here because it explicitly say, I want you to write this on the disk. So yeah, if we want to save something, we want to write it on the disk. So export it. Back to our main data object here. What we will have is a variable which is going to be generator silver, and it will contain data generator silver. Okay, so let's create a constructor for our data script. This constructor will be fired when we create a new data. So basically it will create a new save file. So here, what are the values you want for a new save file? We want silver equal to 0, and we want generator silver to be equal to a new data generator silver. With the same logic, we will go in the generator silver. We will write the constructor to initialize upgrade 01 to 0, upgrade 02 to 0, like this. So this way we do have a default value for our save file. And yeah, when we start the game, this is what the game will use. What do we do with this data object now? We need to do a few things. First, we need to make sure that the game is using this data object. Second, we need to save this data object on the disk. And third, we need to load this data object from the disk. For the game to use the data object, my go-to way is to use the game singleton. So far, we haven't created a script for it. It's just resting in its own folder all alone. So let's add a game script. Let's give it a name and make it a singleton now. The singleton ready, I instantly initialized the variable data. Well, I declared it, it has no value yet, so we need to assign to it a new value. And I want to be very clear here. We can't do that in the ready method of the game, because the game will be ready when the currencies and the generators and the user interface will be ready. All those nodes that I mentioned will need the data. I'm choosing to use the enter tree method to say that data is going to be a new data object, which will be a new save file basically, and not a colon, an equal. Now that we do have this object existing in the game, we need to make sure that all our little guys here, they actually don't work with their own information, but they actually do work in alignment with the data object. Let's start with the ManagerSilver because it's going to be the easiest one. Here, the value we want to save is silver, so this value needs to be now related to the game data. We have different ways to go with that, so I'm going to show you the first and most straightforward way. You just return the game.ref.data.silver. That's it. You just put the full ref to it, which is in the game singleton. Another way to bring that easier sometime is to basically on ready get a reference to the data object by getting the node game and getting the data within the node game. So that's why we need to do that already. So here data type data is going to be equal to game.ref.data. It's not much of a save, but what we can do is have data.silver instead of game.ref.data.silver. That's a little bit better. It doesn't look much on this script because we reach information which is on the first layer of data, but it will make a little bit more sense when we jump to the next phase, which is making sure that in our generator silver here, we do have the game data as well. Silver generator doesn't have anything to do with data. because it's either using the upgrades, which will have to deal with data, or it's using the ManagerSilver, which again is already dealing with data. So here, nothing to do in the ManagerSilver script. However, let's go in the scene and go find the upgrades in there. The upgrade 01 will have to deal with the data. So here, let's grab onReady, a new variable data, typed data GeneratorSilver, which is going to be equal to game.ref.data.generatorSilver. What this will do is replace all those levels by data.upgrade01.level. So I'm gonna copy this and use the search method to replace all those underscore level by data upgrade 01 level. We gotta be careful though, because some will need to be changed while others will not. So this one will not because we did it already. This one will be replaced. We do have this little warning which says that underscore level is declared but never used, so let's just get rid of it. We now need to do the same thing for the upgrade 2. So let's go. Let's actually grab this before we go, since we will need it. And let's put it there. If you want to see the answer to the exercise how to make a timer reduction upgrade, this is it. So we are done with this second upgrade. We can get rid of the level here and we're good. So now we can just run the game again to make sure that it works fine. So as you can see, we still have the silver. We can start generating silver. That's great. And we should be able as well to purchase this little upgrade here. So let's just wait a few seconds. All right, no problem for purchasing the upgrade. So the game seems to be reacting pretty well to having this data object now. The next step is to write and read the content of this data object on the disk. So this is the game that will be responsible for that. I will add a timer, which will be the save timer. That will be the save timer here. And in my game, I will actually grab that timer. We do need to save this here. So we could put the save method there. However, I will create a script instead. I will create a ManagerSave script, which will not be a singleton, but a static class, ManagerSave, and it will contain static functions that we will use to save and load the game. I'm going to declare a constant which is going to be the save path. User colon / is here to say that you want to save this on the local folder of the user playing the game. Save.tres is just the name we want to give to the file. Res for resource and T for text resource. That will be easier for us to read what's in this file. But we can also decide to just have a res source file, which will not be readable and less editable for the user. So let's create a save data function, which will allow us to save our data. So here, there's absolutely no difficulty. We use the resource saver built in Godot to call on the save method, and we want to save game.ref.data at the path that we created just there. And that's it. This will write this data object on the disk. Within our game, here, we want to find the ManagerSave and use the save method. However, I did not save the file, so I did not have the auto completion. Now we do. All right. So we can configure that save timer to auto start and save every 5 seconds. Let's run the game, generate a few silver, and wait for 5 seconds. So saves are a little bit annoying to find. You have to go within your user, app data, roaming, Godot, and app user data again to find your games. And in there, you will have the user files, like the save. What we have in this save is, I don't care about the upgrade, is the value silver 23 and the level of the upgrades. So this is exactly what we want. Now that we do have a way to write the file, we need a way to read the file, which is going to be a load data method. So again, there are multiple ways to deal with that. And here, we will consider the situation where the type of resource that we write on the disk is exactly the same than the one that we read. What I mean there is that if you have your game being updated and the data object is expanded, having new properties, new fields, then it's going to be different than the one you load. In that kind of situation, the load methods will be much more complicated than this. But for the sake of this episode, which is it's not about how to make data version upgrade, it's about making a simple save load, we will just have this thing, right? Game.ref.data will be equal to loading whatever is at the save path. Pretty much. However, we will make a simple check because we do have the resource loader, which allows us to check if there is a resource at a specific path. So we will check that. If there's no resource in there, we want to return. Otherwise, if there is a resource, then we want to load it, pretty much. Back in our game, when we enter the tree, we create that new save file, and then we want to apply on that new save file the data that we have on the file written. So here, we will just go with ManagerSave.loadData. And again, I didn't save. Load data. Like this. So now when I start the game, I do have 23 silver, even though I didn't activate this silver generator here. So something you can try to do, keeping track of whether or not the silver generator is on or off, so that when the player is loading the game, it does turn on and off. Can be a little bit complicated, I guess, but it's a great way to think about how loading will work. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the idea of being able to progress through the game without having to start over every time you start the game. That could be cool. If you did like this video, consider leaving a like, even a comment. And I actually created the Ko-fi link for this channel, so if you want to support the channel, you can offer a coffee or something that will be deeply appreciated. That's it for me. I be gone for this video. You keep practicing because this is how you get better at making games, and I will see you later in a video or in a live. That's up to you.